Hey, everybody, and welcome to another installment, yet another edition of Work Your Career Wednesday. As always, I'm Bradley Clark, and I'm so thrilled, honored, and blessed that you decided to tune in today. And I have an amazing show for you today. Incredible guest. You can see him over here. We're going to get to him in a second. But you're going to be really happy, and your heart is going to be happy that you tuned in today. But first, let's talk about our sponsors. Pay some bills. Is that okay, Doc? Is that we can pay some bills first? If you have anything and everything, anything that you want documented, that via video and stuff like that, I got to tell you, podcast and music video, you got to get a hold of White Husky Films. Their number is on the screen. Or you can always visit us at www.whitehuskyfilms.com. I tell you, you'll be incredibly pleased, glad, and so happy that you chose White Husky. Steven Saldana has got one of the best eyes that I've ever seen, and he will make sure that your project is delivered with incredible satisfaction. So dream, create, record in that order. And when you choose White Husky, like I said, you'll be so glad you did. And of course, Jane's Physical Therapy, the premier physical therapist in Louisiana. And they're looking for some folks. We're looking for 4 physical therapists and a couple PTAs. Let me tell you something, you want to work with Jane's Physical Therapy. They are second to none. Everyone's a specialist there. And working for Casey Janes is probably akin to working with Dr. Tavackoli, an absolute expert and amazing professional in his field. So get in contact with us today. Go on to LinkedIn and search for Janes, Jaynes, Physical Therapy. Apply there, or you can apply on White Huskies, White Huskies LinkedIn page as well. We're actually helping. Well, I'm actually helping him fill these jobs. So we cannot wait to talk with you. Get in contact with me right away, and we'll get you set up. But now on with the show. Now, okay, Dr. T, I gotta give him a little history here. Is that okay?
Sure.
Now, first, Dr. Tavackoli, and you know our guests. I typically have to read because their credits are so long, I have to read them most of the time. So Dr. Tavackoli earned his medical degree at UT, which that's great, but my wife is still in therapy over the USC game with, she says his knee was down, but anyway.
It
I'm going to tell her, Erica, Dr. T says it wasn't. UT, the medical UT was it, now is that UTMB, right? University of Texas Medical Branch, Galveston. He then completed his residency at Baylor College of Medicine. They're really into that lime green and gray there. I think it's wonderful. Returned to UTMB to complete his fellowship in cardiology. He's board certified in internal medicine and cardiology. He's been in practice since 2004. His clinical interests are cardiology and cardiovascular diseases. Dr. Tavackoli is dedicated to providing evidence-based, state-of-the-art cardiac care in a personal manner. He offers a wide range of diagnostic testing in the convenience of his office. He speaks Farsi and some Turkish. He's a published author, peer-reviewed journals. He's an invited speaker on various subjects related to cardiovascular medicine. There's so much more to this. Dr. T is a council member of the Texas chapter of American College of Cardiology. He serves as a clinical assistant professor of internal medicine and is a past chair of cardiology at Hermann Memorial City Medical Center. And this is so cool. Whenever I come in, and truth be told, we're friends. And so when we get to talk, and a lot of times we talk about archaeology, we talk about traveling, and get this, Dr. T and his wife has a wife and son. His outside interests are music, which is kind of cool. Not necessarily mine, but they're definitely music. Archaeology, history, photography, and travel. Can I just tell you something? I'm going to go into our history really, really quick. Um, so I was having some problems, and it was undiagnosed cardiac issues, and I would go to the hospital. They would admit me for some sort of gastro thing, and he would come to my room and he would say, "Listen, you need to come and see me." And I would be like, "Oh, I honestly, I just didn't really want to face the fact that something could be wrong with my heart, to be honest with you. I really didn't want to face that." But he didn't give up. He would call me personally. He would call me. He would, "Hey, when are you going to come see me?" Um, I remember a couple times I was with my wife as she was getting some tests, and we ran into each other somehow, which in my view, I could only see as divine appointments. We'd run into each other in the hallway, and he like, "Look, when are you going to come and see me?" Like, "I'll come and see you." And then finally it got to the point where I was in the ER, and there was she she was, I guess, a resident. Um, she was a resident, and she was asking me about my symptoms, and I said, "Dr. Tavackoli has been deviling me to get into this, to get in to see him for at least 2 years now." And she started asking me about my history. Well, it turned out that I needed, at least at that point, 3 stents. Didn't know it. They admitted me. Dr. T comes in and sees me. First word says, "Well, we finally got you in." Dr. Tavackoli, in my view, was an instrument that God used to save my life, because if it hadn't been for him, we probably wouldn't be doing this podcast. Please make welcome I would say, one of the best cardiologists in the nation. I'm going to tell you, Dr. Shahin Tavackoli, Dr. T for short. Welcome to Work Your Career Wednesday, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I'm humbled by your introduction. I am not all that, I don't think, in my opinion. I always tell patients and friends that I serve as an instrument in the hands of the Lord, and that's all there is to it. And that's true for a lot of us that do this kind of work, and any kind of work, really. You're here to serve humanity, and you're put on this earth for a reason. And the sooner you figure out what that reason is, and try to concentrate your efforts to that end, I think the better off you are, and the better off the people around you are. So I'm glad to have been at your service, and I'm glad that you called me your friend. I'm honored to be your friend and be in this line of work. I thank the Lord for providing it, providing this privilege to me.
Well, I got to tell you, I don't know what it was, but we hit it off right away. Even if I just didn't want to face it. I really didn't. I just didn't want to face it. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm young enough, and this and that, and I'll have some time, and blah blah blah." But it got to the point where I didn't have a lot of time. And you, I mean, well, because it's interesting to me. You're talking about being an instrument in the hands of the Lord. I agree with that, because there were certain times within our history, before you had even seen me, that you were like, "You got to come see me," and you were persistent, and I think that's amazing. But so real quick, so people can get to know you, can you go through your history a little bit and give them a rundown of you?
Well, I don't know how far back you want me to go. Of course, I was born in Iran. I've been in the US since 1985. I went to engineering school. I was chemical engineer, UT Austin. I still stay in touch with UT Austin very much so. I serve on an advisory committee for the biomedical engineering department at UT. And then I finished that. I worked for DuPont as a chemical engineer for a couple of years, and then I went to medical school, as you said, at UTMB, and then internal medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, and then subsequently I went back to UTMB and did my cardiology fellowship, and have been with the same basically group. Although the group was 3 people and 2 of them retired, and I'm now the leftover from that group since 2004. And there is 9 of us in the group presently. We are at Memorial Hermann in Memorial City. We offer a very wide range of cardiac care, basically everything. Now, Memorial City has grown significantly since I started in 2004. And now we do just about any form of cardiac care, including transcatheter aortic valve replacement, transcatheter mitral valve repair. I have partners that do that sort of work. So basically, we provide just about every type of cardiac care that you can think of, all the different sorts of imaging and care. But to me, really, the most important part of cardiac care is the cooperation that exists between the physicians and the patients. We work together. You're part of the solution. You're part of the team that would work with your physician. And if we can't work together, it doesn't matter how many imaging different modalities you have. It doesn't matter what services you offer. If you're not working together, then you don't get to feel like you're a friend with your physician. To me, a lot of my patients, hopefully all of my patients, feel like they're my friends and my family members. And I wouldn't do anything that I wouldn't do for a family member or a friend. So it's just, I think that's the solution. That's the key to that interaction, for you to trust me, and so that we can work together. And that's basically the foundation of what I do. This is why when I have something to say to a patient, for example, if they've had some sort of a study in my office, an imaging study or otherwise, I call them myself personally on the phone, every single patient, whether the results were positive or negative or whatever. I call everyone myself, and everybody gets surprised by that. I figured out about a year and a half ago that some patients get scared when I call them. They think I have bad news. I have to explain to them in the office, look, I'm going to call you myself, and don't be scared, because it just doesn't mean that it's bad news. Good news, bad news, everything. I call everyone myself.
Yeah.
And I think that makes the patients understand that I actually care, that I do put some effort in that relationship, and that encourages them to put effort in that relationship. And all the efforts are concentrated in getting them better and getting them to live longer and event-free, and prevent them from getting hospitalized. Nobody wants to be in the hospital, hopefully.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, it's a very big deal. I mean, when I first had my with the stints, right? When you did my stints, I because I was prolonging what could have been the inevitable, based on history and stuff like that, or my family's history. And, you just stayed on me about it. You just stayed on me about it. I didn't want to, but then after it happened, then it was like, oh my gosh, this is really real. And you stuck with me through, all of my, sometimes feeling a little snake bit, and then having to, just the whole nine. I mean, you were right there, and forever. I'm proud to call you a brother. I'm proud to call you friend, and just I feel incredibly indebted to you. And I love the fact that you were saying that, it's a symbiotic relationship. Doesn't matter how much imaging, doesn't matter how much this, doesn't matter how much that. If you're not helping the situation, then you're actually hurting the situation. You can't, the tug of rope kind of thing, just be on one side.
Right. We
You know
can't
what I
work
mean?
against each other.
We can't work against each other. Absolutely not. But so in a former life, I recruited for chemical engineers, as you know, and pretty well versed in that. I got to tell you, a lot of the chemical engineers I know, they just have really wonderful hearts. They have really, really big hearts, right? Like in the, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but what was it? What was it about? Like, what made you want to, sort of take that transition from chemical engineering to medicine?
Medicine. Well, in the US, you have to have a degree before you go to medical school. You have to have either a BA or a BS or something like that. And, when I first started, I was older. I was 21 years old when I started going to college. And it was because I had escaped my country. It had taken me 2 years to get here. And, I basically tried to take the safe route to go to medical school and earn the degree that I could work with. And but when I started working, even though I liked the kind of work that I was doing and the people around me um, worked well with me and liked me and everything, it just didn't feel like me. I wanted to go to medical school to begin with. That's how
Mm.
I went to engineering school. And it turns out that it actually is very helpful to go to engineering school before you go to medical school. And the reason is because they teach you how to think. And
Mm.
there's this notion that there's a big leap between engineering to medicine. There's not at all. It actually is the same line of thinking. All engineering essentially is trying to figure out a solution for a problem. Either something has gone wrong and you're trying to fix it, or you're doing something in a particular way and you're thinking, okay, is there a better way of doing it? And that's essentially the same thing in medicine. Something is wrong and you're trying to figure out a solution for it. So that sort of training to teach you how to think about problems and solve problems comes in very much handy in medical school and in practice of medicine, because really and truly, a human body is a chemical plant when you think about it that way, right? So it actually is very helpful. When I went to medical school interviews, first of all, I only applied to 3 medical schools. Nowadays, kids are applying to 50 schools and all that. I only applied to 3 medical schools. And all 3 of them told me, you can come here if you want to. One in particular, one of the doctors that was interviewing me at San Antonio, that was one of the schools that I interviewed, told me, look, we prefer to take engineers, because you already know how to think. So we don't have to teach you how to think. So I didn't know that, I knew ahead of time that at the time, we're talking about early 90s, chemical engineers out of UT chemical engineering department, if they applied to medical school, there was 100% acceptance. So those who chose to go from chemical engineering to medical school, 100% of them succeeded. I knew that. But I have, for 20 something years, I've said the same thing. Chemical engineering and engineering in general is actually much more difficult than medical school, intellectually. Work-wise, the amount of work that you have to go to medical school to go through medical school is significantly more. The number of hours that you spend is, tremendously more in medical school than in engineering, any type of engineering. But intellectually, comprehension of what's happening here in the abstract subject matter and the abstract concepts are much more difficult in engineering school. There are courses in engineering school where you sit in front of a test and there's only 4 questions for a 3-hour test. And you look at the questions and you're like, okay, well, I don't know where to start from. None of this looks familiar to me. You know, so just they're extremely difficult, you know,
Like, did
those
we cover
exams.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
This
sure.
doesn't look like anything I've seen before, you know. So I mean but I mean medical school volume wise is significantly more, you know, the amount of memorization and again the amount of volume, the amount of number of hours that you put in it is significantly more than engineering school. But you know, so they teach you how to think. They teach you how to put two and two together. They also teach you to question everything, you know, to not say, oh, it must work that way, you know. As soon as somebody presents something to you, you think about it and say, does it really work that way? Does it, you know, is there another way of doing this? Or are you telling me the truth, you know, or, you know, just question everything, you know. So that's engineering. And that very much serves you well as you go through medical school and medical training and then practice of medicine, you know. I told you
What?
you have to ask me questions. I can't be the only one talking here, but I'm doing all the talking, Brad.
I'm loving this. I am loving that. You know, if you look at the past couple shows I did, I'm the only one talking really. So I am loving this, and people want to hear from you. They don't want to hear from me. They hear from me every week. They want to hear from you. So what is it about cardiology in and of itself, you know, the study and treatment of the heart that why did you pick that as your specialty?
Well, for whatever reason, I actually was interested in the heart and the functioning of the heart and the intricacies of the heart, even when I was in high school. I don't really know why, you know, but I was just drawn to it. And eventually, when I went to medical school, at first I thought I was going to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. I was very interested in surgery. Then, you know, life happened, and then I decided I would just instead go through cardiology. I think one of the main reasons is because most of what we do in the world of cardiology is very well researched. There is a very large foundation of knowledge in the world of cardiology that is basically um, unmatched and without peer when you compare it to the rest of the world of medicine. And that's not just me saying that, everybody knows that. You know, there's so many, and perhaps it's driven by the fact that still to this day, the number one killer in the US is cardiovascular disease. So there's a lot of research that has gone into how we treat patients and how we take care of cardiovascular disease. And so that at the time that I was looking into things as I was going through training also appealed to me that I know what I'm talking about is based on a very solid foundation. The other part of it is that most of the treatments that we offer patients have very short, I don't want to say short acting, but I mean, in short order, you see results, you know, like the stenting, like heart valve surgery, things like that. You know, you don't have to wait for years or months to get results. It's sort of very immediate. And that also, I think, at some level appealed to me. It appeals to a lot of cardiologists that they can save lives very quickly and very sensibly, meaning like the patient walks into the emergency room while they're having a heart attack. If it wasn't for you, they could have died or they could have had significant issues later on in their lives, and they would be hampered by the events that happened on that particular day for the rest of their lives if it wasn't for you, you know. So that
So
appeals
true.
to a lot of cardiologists, you know, that immediate impact that you have on the life of a particular patient. And we're blessed, you know, we're blessed, like I just said, you know, we're blessed to be that person. You know, I thank the Lord every day because, you know, I don't see myself deserving of this privilege. So, people serve different functions, and hopefully they realize that, a lot of what functions they serve and the satisfaction that they get is because the Lord has made it possible for them to be in that position, to be able to do that, you know. So
Amen
that's
to
how
that.
I look at it. Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Well, if you want to, go even further back in history, how many people's lives were saved because people had to escape,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I mean, there's so many things that you can kind of look back at well, in anything, but an awful turn
Mm-hmm.
of events, can result in some pretty significant outcomes later on,
Yeah.
so it's pretty incredible. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have more with Dr. Tavackoli. Stay with us. It's only going to get better from here. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Jane's Physical Therapy has immediate openings for full-time and part-time positions. For home healthcare physical therapists and physical therapy assistants, we are actively looking in the New Orleans and Lafayette areas. Call Bradley Clark at 713-364-8777. Join us at Jane's Physical Therapy, and let's help Louisiana get back to living life.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. We're here with Dr. Tavackoli. As far as I'm concerned, the best cardiologist in the country, in the world. He's done amazing things with me, and I'm just so thankful and grateful to him. He is a good friend and a brother, and really, I'm so honored that you came on today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know what's
You're very welcome.
interesting? And I got really into this after the first stints happened, after it was really real. I got into, I was like, is there a heart health awareness month? Is that a thing? And it turns out it's February. And what's interesting about that is that it's also Black History Month, and African Americans, the heart disease is rampant in their community. I think heart disease in and of themselves, particularly in America, though, I'm not sure if it's a respecter of persons, but certainly. With a focus on African Americans that have the health of their heart, I think there should be more emphasis on that. Heart health is, if you don't have your heart, you don't have anything, right? It all goes away. there's no us anymore. So not just for African Americans, but for all of us. What are some steps that we can take? Remember that video we did in your office years ago when I was on my first follow-up? Remember that? It's still pinned to my Facebook. It's still pinned to my Facebook. I'm like, listen to Dr. T. But what are some steps that people can take immediately?
You took it with your phone, remember?
I took it with my phone. That's right. Right. We've upgraded. Now it's a laptop. But and a whole show. It's a whole show. It's amazing. What are some things that people can start doing like right now, besides coming in and seeing you before, right? To kind of get it all checked.
They won't need me. Hopefully we can do something to prevent them from having to come and see me, because if you're on my doorstep, then there's a reason. There's a reason to be there, and hopefully we can help you. But the hope and the efforts should be concentrated on not needing to come and see us in the office.
I love that.
So yeah.
So what does that look like?
So that looks like, first of all, taking stock of your life, because there's so many things that go into heart health and making it so that you live an event, as we call it, event-free life, event being a bad event, So, eating right, things that you always have heard, but really taking this seriously, like you said, not taking it seriously hurts you. So eating right, if you were to ask me what is the best diet that you can be on from so many different aspects, your own health, the health of the planet, and everything, it's the vegetarian diet. A vegan diet or a vegetarian diet would be the best diet that you can be on. Now, you have to also be doing that knowledgeably, because there are certain things that you have to supplement a vegetarian diet with so that you're not missing out. And so you have to do it, first you have to learn how to do it and then do it. So, diet-wise, probably the best form of diet would be a vegetarian diet. Next to that would be a low processed carbohydrate diet with minimizing animal products in it. Maybe not zero animal products, but minimizing animal products in the diet. And then the next is one of the cornerstones of heart health is regular exercise, both aerobic and isometric exercise. And what that means is you spend some time doing activities that raise your heart rate and keep your heart rate elevated for somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes every day, if you can do it. If you can't, at least every other day. And that conditions your heart and your cardiovascular system in general to handle stress better. And then the isometric exercises, like working with weights and the equivalent of weights, are good for your metabolism, the metabolism rate, and also for your musculoskeletal structure to, delay or prevent osteoporosis, to make your balance more steady. And so it serves a lot of purpose. It's not one is better than the other. Both of them are important, both isometric and aerobic exercises. So those two things are the cornerstone of heart health. Now, minimizing stress, stress has come in and out of vogue as far as its effect on cardiovascular health, but I have no question at all that stress does affect your cardiovascular health. And the more stress you have in your life, now any kind of stress, the unhealthier you become over an extended period of time. So I don't think it should be debated. I think it's very straightforward that emotional stress and other types of stress will have an impact on you. You brought up African Americans. There are multiple different ethnic backgrounds and race backgrounds that affect you as far as cardiovascular health is concerned, that we see in the day-to-day practice of medicine and in cardiology in particular. African Americans are very much afflicted with uncontrolled hypertension, high blood pressure, and significant hypertension. A blood pressure number is made out of two numbers, systolic and diastolic, the top number and the bottom number, as people put it. And we see very frequently African Americans who have significant diastolic hypertension, which is very, very difficult to control. Doesn't respond to a lot of medicines that you use. So you have to know what you're doing when you treat a patient with diastolic hypertension, and African Americans are afflicted with that. So again, like I said, different ethnic backgrounds predispose you for whatever reason to different diseases. Like there's a lot more diabetes in the Hispanic and subpopulation of patients. And so coronary disease in my country is very, very commonplace. And people with that background have significantly more early onset coronary artery disease. So, and this is also true on the Indian subcontinent. So it's just, you have to take those things into account. But nevertheless, the cornerstone of treatment is prevention. And prevention is stands on these foundations that I just talked about. Eat right, try to minimize stress in your life, and exercise on a regular basis. Um, and don't smoke. I think that goes without saying.
Some of us may need to hear that more than others. Just,
Just saying.
That's that's a very big deal. Like everything, I mean, everything you just said. I mean, there's also sometimes heart disease presents itself differently. Well, it usually presents itself differently in men and women. Sometimes it presents itself uh, like the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes men have their heart disease presenting as typically a woman would, and vice versa. So that happens too. I mean, so, and I love what you're saying about prevention. What's that saying? An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure.
Yes. Something along those lines. Yes.
Right. When do you think someone, now let's say, they're doing all of that, they're, and I'm so glad you brought up diet, because there's so many diets out there. And what's the newest one? Or it's not a diet, it's a drug, really big in Hollywood right now. Ozempic.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I mean, I don't even know what that was for. Is it designed to be a weight loss drug, or
no?
Oh, it's for diabetes.
So it was actually under that particular name, because pharmaceutical companies have this thing about marketing their medicine, or as I put it, peddling their medicine under different names for different purposes. So the same medicine, semaglutide, which is a generic name for Ozempic, is marketed under the name Ozempic for diabetes. It's marketed under the name Wegovy for weight loss, and it's the same drug. And it turns out that compounding pharmacies can compound semaglutide, and it's quote unquote illegal. And we have multiple multiple compounding pharmacies across the city of Houston, because it's under patent. But they're doing it and they're selling it, and we wouldn't recommend it because we don't really know what's in that particular syringe that you're injecting yourself with. These are injectable drugs, by the way. Anyway, so the branded drug Wegovy, and now there are other medicines like Mounjaro does the same thing, and essentially the way they work is they curb your appetite, and make it so that if you eat a bunch of carbohydrates, they make you nauseated, and so people gradually go away from these types of foods, and they gradually lose weight. That's one of the ways that they work. But that's the major way that they work anyway. So
just put remember back in the old time commercial, or not commercials, cartoons, they the castor oil, they give the baby the castor oil, and all that. I mean, just do that. I think at the end of the day too, when it comes to those kinds of things, you either want to start practicing discipline or you don't. It's a discipline issue.
It's not as easy. I'm telling you, it's just not. It's not. It's like not smoking. Once you start smoking, it's extremely difficult to quit. Nicotine is the most addictive drug on the face of the earth. The average person, it takes them 9 times to quit before they quit for good. Most people don't know that, so they quit a couple of times, and they go back to smoking, and they say, "I guess I can't do it." Well, that's not true. You got to keep trying, and eventually you'll succeed. So I'm not going to sit here and blame the person who is not eating right or smoking and all of that. These things are extremely difficult to manage. And in the case of smoking quitting, in the case of eating, there are eating disorders and problems with eating that are not easy to get around. They're not, and certain diets are good for you and good for the planet, like I talked about vegetarian, being vegetarian and all that. But it's not easy. It's not easy to do it. It really isn't. So you can't go around blaming people for certain things. You got to be the change that you want to be. You want to see. So
I
anyway.
love that. I absolutely love that. I really do. For several reasons.
Yeah.
but I appreciate that. I appreciate that. There are, this is what I was going to ask, if there are some things that you could pinpoint that are sort of common symptoms, and I want to delineate them between male and female, right?
Okay.
What are some things that, say, a man should look for, right? And in their overall health that could be contributing to a lot, but it's cardiac in nature. One thing that's really interesting, and you said there was like this instant gratification. I'll never forget it, when the last time I was in, and y'all showed me the for lack of a better term, the movie or the image, right, of when before you placed the stent and then after the stent was placed. It was like
Yeah.
that. Wow.
It's a dramatic difference. Yeah.
It's dramatic. Like in both, scope and nature. I mean, it's just, it's like a trickle. It was this, like a tiny
blood flow. Yeah.
river. The blood flow is just a string almost. And then the stent gets put in, and it was just, I mean, I was like, and I posted that on LinkedIn, actually. I was like, look at this. This is insane. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it got a ton. I mean, people were just fascinated by it. I know I was. So I figured if I was, I figured somebody else would be. But anyway, what is it in a man, and then we'll do how do things present in a woman that should tell them maybe I should go get my heart checked. Maybe I need to make an appointment with Dr. Tavackoli.
Well, I mean, I think let's start with ladies first. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Because, unfortunately, even to this day, a lot of times women's symptoms are discounted, and they don't get the attention that they deserve. And so I think, and unfortunately, women do not present a lot of times with symptoms that we consider, quote, typical for cardiovascular disease or cardiac, in particular, cardiac disease, blocked arteries, as you put it, so coronary artery disease presents a bit differently in women a lot of times than it does in men, as you put it yourself. And so in women, really any type, I always say, sort of halfway jokingly, any pain or any discomfort between the navel and the chin has to be taken seriously. So whereas in men, we talk about the center of the chest or the left side of the chest and radiation to the arm, this and that and the other. Really, in women, any kind of pain that is unexplained and that is somewhere between the lower part of the chest, upper part of the abdomen, and all the way to their shoulders, could be related to the heart. A lot of times, discomfort presents in ladies behind their heart, meaning like around your scapula on the left side. You could have pain, and it could be related to your heart. And what is common to both is exertional symptoms, meaning like if you go to do something, climb a flight of stairs or a couple, or do something that's exertional, lift something heavy, and then you get this discomfort, let's put it, because I always say pain. I use the word pain, and people, while they're having a heart attack, they're like, it's not pain, it's not pain, it's a heaviness. Okay, we just use the word pain, so it's not, so any kind of discomfort that they would experience when they're exerting themselves, and especially if they have done it before and they didn't have that symptom and now they're having it, that needs to be brought to the attention of their primary care physician first, and then they will decide whether they should be seen by a cardiologist or not. So and so that sort of a feeling should be paid attention to in both men and women. Mm-hmm. Men more commonly get the typical angina. What the typical angina is a pressure-like sensation or a tightness in the center of the chest. Most often, the first time you experience it is when you're exerting yourself. You're doing something, you're running, you're climbing flight of stairs, you're carrying something heavy, something that's exertional. And I always tell people, there are like 8,000 different reasons why you should exercise. Reason number 750 is because if you continue to exercise, you know your limitations. You know what makes you short of breath, right? I run or I walk 3 miles and I'm not short of breath. Now, one morning I get up and during the first mile, I get short of breath. There's something up. Something needs to be looked into if that's the case. If you get chest tightness after the first half a mile and up until last month, you weren't having any chest tightness, that needs to be looked into, and that, again, you bring that to the attention of your primary care doctor, or if you already have cardiovascular disease, you're seeing a cardiologist, you bring that to the attention of your cardiologist, and they'll look into it for you. I also always tell patients that if you're regularly exercising and you don't have any symptoms, and your exercise is adequate, then you probably don't need really any cardiovascular workup, meaning you don't need a stress test, you don't need anything else. And I don't do them unless you really have a reason to do it. Used to be, 10, 15 years ago, we used to, and even American College of Cardiology would advocate a stress test after the age of 50. Oh, that's kind of gone out of style and by the wayside, because we know for a fact that if you're regularly active, you're exercising, and even if you're 70 years old, 80 years old, and you're exercising, and you should be, and you don't have any symptoms, you really don't have any indication for doing a stress test or anything of the sort, unless there are other circumstances. If you're diabetic, sometimes it's better to get looked at, especially if you're older, 70, 80 years old, but for the general population, if you're physically active and you don't have any symptoms, you don't have any chest pain, you don't have any shortness of breath, not only do you not have any indication for a stress test, even if, and this is going to be for a lot of people surprising, even if you did a stress test, let's say you did a stress test and the stress test was abnormal, and then that led to a cardiac catheterization, which means that the procedure that you had, you go on the table and we do a cardiac catheterization on you, and we find a blockage, and we open it up and put a stent in it. If you really didn't have any symptoms, if you didn't have any chest pain, you didn't have any shortness of breath, that stent is not doing you any favors. That has been proven by clinical studies, multiple clinical studies. It's not helping you. So there's really no reason to do any of that. The cornerstone, again, as I said before, the cornerstone of heart health is eat right, control your blood pressure, control your stress, make sure your cholesterol and everything is in order, and exercise on a regular basis. That's it. That's the cornerstone of it. Everything else that you see people get done in the absence of symptoms is not beneficial. It really isn't.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting too, with how mine presented was a little abnormal, and then not only that, all my EKGs were always fine. They were always good. Little did we know.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's
but you had chest
things like that happen too. I had chest pain.
Yeah.
But other than that, there were other things too that, needed you to go in there and take a look at it and understand what they were talking about, what they were reading, right? As opposed to, oh yeah, no, they're fine. Go ahead. You can go now. You know what I mean? So,
Well,
so super, super important for that. You know, our audience is pretty vast. You know, it covers all sorts of the professional spectrum. You know, um, and I'd like to think we have a pretty awesome audience. I got to tell you, in that
sure you do.
audience, um, I'm sure there are some folks in medical school or thinking about becoming a doctor or something like that, or maybe even they're choosing their specialty. What advice would you have for those people that are sort of at that precipice of either
Mhm.
I'm say I'm a chemical engineer, but I really want to go to I think I'm going to go to medical school, or maybe I'm in medical school and I want to pick a specialty. What's your advice for them?
Well, I think, more and more, um, the world of medicine has become a very, very difficult sea to navigate. It's become, you have to have, and I'm not talking about the number of hours that you have to work or anything like that, but uh, and that's already very overwhelming. But dealing with the different outside entities, insurance companies and administrators and all of that. So I would say if you are in a profession and you're debating whether you should go into medicine or not, if you're debating about it, you probably shouldn't go into medicine. I think I've said this, and my wife always gets upset when she hears this from me. I think if you think you can do something else to serve
Do it.
humanity, do that something else. You know,
Has it gotten to
because
that point now? Like, you're not the
well, I
only
think
person I've heard that from, you know?
yeah, I think it's just one of those things where we are in it, we're happy to be in it, but I really couldn't see myself as anyone else or doing anything else. I
Mhm.
think this is, we're always get into these sort of situations or positions, and when we think about it or when we look back at it, we're like, oh, that was the wisdom of why this happened in a certain way, or this is why
Mhm.
I'm here, or whatever. So I don't really think that I could have done anything else that would serve humanity as well as I do now. And so
But
I'm
if
one
you're on
man.
the fence
I'm
about it,
right.
choose the other side of the
It,
fence.
it's choose the other side of the fence because
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, financially it's great and all of that.
Sure.
I'm not gonna say I live in a poorhouse or anything like that, but you know, there's a price to pay for everything, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
the price to pay for being a physician and all of that is gradually become, maybe too much. Okay,
Mm.
and if you want to be a
Gosh.
good
Yeah.
physician, if you want to be a good physician, if you want to serve the people and all of that, it's just it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I'm not saying all the other jobs are easy. Just go do something else. No, I mean every job has their own challenges and difficulties and all of that. But it's just one of those things where if you're debating about it, maybe medicine is not for you. Okay, now if you're
Mm.
in medical school and now you're deciding, okay, which branch of medicine, I will tell you that the great majority of students that are in the third year, when they're now deciding, okay, which branch of medicine I want to go into, they already know in their heart what it is that makes them happy. One of the things that comes up when medical students, I have a medical student that comes to me every other week from Baylor. One of the things that I hear from some medical students and then some residents that are deciding about fellowship and all of that is the length of training that is involved in residency or in fellowship and all of that. And my answer always is that you have to remember that you are going to be doing this particular training for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. But then you're going to be practicing medicine for 30 years, you know? So you have to do what makes you happy. You have done too much work, in my opinion, and have put in too many years. to worry about extending your training by another year or two, or three. I think if you're going to go through all that hardship, all the studying, all the tests and everything, and then come out the other end, and now you practice medicine, you're doing something that you don't like, it's not worth it. It's a shame to have to get up every morning and go to do something that you don't love, after putting in all that effort. So the length of training really shouldn't be a major deciding factor at all. I think that what should be a major deciding factor is what makes you happy, what makes you think you can do it to the best of your abilities, so that you can serve the patients as best as you can. Not whether it takes 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or whatever. It's do what you think you're going to be the best at. That's true of medicine. That's true of everything else as well. You do.
Sure.
If it's worth doing, it's worth doing it the best way possible. So that's my advice. Do it. Do what you think you're going to be great at.
I tell you, I would love to get into some of the things you're talking about or even hinting at, but maybe we can save that for another show. But I don't know.
I haven't promised any other.
I mean, I'm just hoping, But I tell you, it's a shame that things have gotten sort of in that way where, let's say 30 years ago, if somebody says you're going to be a doctor, oh yes, the highest calling you could possibly have, blah, 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 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And now things have gotten, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is it bureaucratic? Is it
a lot of it?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it really makes it difficult for people that, have the love for this. There's been some people that I've known, great doctors that have just gotten to the point where it's like, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I love it, but I can't do it. Or maybe I can serve in another way, or I can in some way, shape, or form, but it's a shame, there's a lot of people out there that I think would be great at, doing what you do, but it's just gotten to the point where it's too much. It's gotten
well, it drives you away a lot of times. It not only prevents you from getting into it, but also I've known people who retired early because they just got fed up with it,
right.
And or left and or started doing something else.
How much does that contribute to burnout? I mean, in and of themselves, dealing with people, and we've talked about this before. It's like, you do your best to help people. You do, and even on a micro level, I understand that. You do your best to help people, and then they just, I don't know, we could say they don't care, but something happens, and anyway, it's all sorts of different.
Well, it contributes a lot to burnout. It really does, because, when you first get the inkling that you should go to medical school, hopefully the first reason that comes to your mind is because it's a good way to help people, and you're, like you said, it's a higher calling, this and that and the other. As you go through the training, it becomes a bit more difficult to put up with the number of hours and the requirements and the meanness of your, professors or whatever, and then gradually you become jaded maybe. And then you enter the workforce, okay? And now in the workforce, you encounter things that you had never thought you're going to encounter, dealing with the hospital administrators and, insurance companies and denials of this and that and the other, pre-authorization for this and that and the other, You're trying to write one medicine. No, don't write this one. Write this other one. And you're like, I thought I'm the one with the letters M and D behind my name, but apparently you're the one who makes the decisions. So it, so I just said like 15 minutes ago, try to minimize the stress in your life. Do you think I can minimize stress in my life? No, I mean I don't have time. to do half the things that I told you people should be doing. It's because I work on average about 12 hours a day, every day, and one weekend out of four. And it's again, if you think you can do something else and be happy and serve humanity while you're doing it, then do that other thing. Because medicine, unfortunately, has become, for a lack of a better term, cumbersome, and it's just, I'm used to it. I've lived this life for 20 years now, and I love my patients. My patients love me, and we're all like family, and I have a group, as you know, I have a group of medical assistants and office personnel that have, for the most part, been with me for 20 years, and so these guys, make my life so much easier that, and I don't really see myself being good at anything else, and being able to live my life doing anything else. So if you're that person, then do it, but if not, then it's become a bit more challenging, let's say.
I am so glad you wouldn't be good at anything else. I'm really happy about that.
You're not selfish or anything, are you?
Hey, look, like I was telling, we had Ken Sparrow back on the show this past week, or 2 weeks ago, and I told him, I said, Ken, I have a very finite set of skills, and if those skills, if something happens to where those skills are, encumbered in some sort of way, like if I lost my voice or something like that, that would be really hard for me to deal with. So I know there's certain things I'm good at, and then they're finite, and there's things that I really enjoy doing. Not a good golfer. I hate it, actually. It's it's the weirdest thing. I know I should love it. I should love to get myself in a position where I'm hitting a tiny ball with a crooked stick down a very long lawn. I should love that. I should absolutely love that. Can't stand it. Really, no. But anyway, very, very finite set of skills and things that I really want to do. It's the same with you. And I, for one, and I know my wife is happy too. I'm sure other members of I know my mom was happy. My mom, by the way, she told me to tell you hello.
We'll tell her I said hello.
I certainly will. But we're all just grateful for you, and grateful that that God put you in my life, and I hope I can be a quarter of the blessing in yours that you've been in mine. And I just really appreciate you so much. Seriously, I really do. I seriously do. And
I cherish your friendship, and we're like brothers. I've told you that many, many, many times in the past. And I'm not just saying that. I'm honored by your friendship, and I'm honored by the friendship of all my patients. And they know it. And I tell you a little story. Somewhere around 17 years ago, maybe, I saw a patient. He had a major issue. He had essentially a ticking time bomb in his chest. And I saw him. I had been in practice maybe for 2 or 3 years. And I sent him, at the time, we didn't do the particular type of heart surgery that he needed at Memorial City. So I sent him to medical center to a surgeon. And I wrote a letter, handwritten, to the surgeon, and I told him, give this to the surgeon, and I'm sure they'll take care of you. I've known them for a number of years, and they're great, and they'll take care of you. 10 years passed after his surgery, and he comes to the office one day, and he handed me that letter, and he said, look, this is the letter you wrote to Dr. So-and-so 10 years ago. You hand wrote this. And I wanted you to know that I kept the letter. And I wanted to thank you for giving me another 10 years to be with my family. I swear to God, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget this act. And, you know, as he was talking, and even now, the hair on the back of my neck went up and all of that. So, you know, I may have sounded like the world of medicine is too much for me. It's not. You know, I thank the Lord every single day for being the person that I am, to be in a position to serve the patient, you know.
Yeah.
And so and I have a very close relationship with all my patients, you know, and they're all like my family and my friends, much like you are, you know. So I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful, you know.
No, you don't. And I think, but at the same time, I think it's healthy for you to talk about, and for others, you know, maybe just starting their career or wanting to go into medicine, to hear that if you're going to do this, there's a cost that comes with it, and don't be ignorant of the cost. It's going, and even more so than when, you know, 20 years ago, the cost is even greater on you personally, you know, and people don't understand, people don't realize that. It's like, I remember one time we were talking, and I think you're just about ready to go on vacation. And we were talking, and I said, man, how long's it been? And you were like, way too long. And it had been a long time since you had been, like, how, like 3, 4, 5 years? You know, you're doing this consistently every single day. People that you really care, you know, that's the other thing too, is that people that you really care about sometimes don't make it. And, you know, that takes a toll. You know, all of that stuff takes a toll. So if you're going to get involved in it, if your calling is to be a physician, you know, cardiologist, cardiothoracic. I mean, I watch my Grey's Anatomy, cardiothoracic sort of, you know, whatever you're going to do, just know that it comes with a cost. And right here on this show, you've heard from one of the best in the country telling you to know and measure the cost. And I think that's wonderful. I really, really do. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, although I really do, but we're going to have to schedule this again. What else would you want our audience to know?
Well, I don't, I want them to know that, you know, hopefully all your physicians want the best for you, and that your relationship with your physician should be a cooperation, not, you know, I'll give you advice and what does he know? We work together, you know.
I love what you said about the insurance companies. It goes to the same for patients. I'm pretty sure like the letters M and D are at the end of my name. I'm pretty sure you're coming to see me. You know, so that's got to get frustrating. That's got. I'm sorry, real quick. I was working with a musician one time, and you know, good artist. I hate to say it like this, and at the time I had some pretty good success going, right? And he just knew better than me, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're paying me to sit in this producer's chair. So why don't you just do what you do, and I'll make you do what you do better. How about that? How about we do that? Either that, or we can go. I can go.
Right. I was about to say, you know, if you're going to go see a physician, get your money's worth, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, work with them so that they can help you and get better, you know? Stay out of the hospital. I always tell patients, you know, my number one job is to keep you out of the hospital, you know? Yeah. And of course, the hospital administrators may not like that, but I don't care. You know, my first duty is to the patient, you know, keep the patient out of the hospital, keep you healthy, you know, and keep you without medicines, keep you without complications, keep you without procedures, you know, because every single one of those things comes with a cost, and you want to minimize that cost as much as possible.
You are incredible. And if no one's told you today, you are awesome.
Well, thank you,
sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
You are awesome.
You. I think you're too kind.
Well, thank you very much. I got to tell you again, thank you so much for coming on today. And, I know that, I know my audience, is going to love to hear from you. We're entering in, Heart Health Awareness Month. So just tomorrow, this show will air on the 31st. So, tomorrow, begins Heart Health Awareness Month. So make sure that you do everything you can to take care of your heart. If you're in the Houston area, anywhere, if you're anywhere in the country, actually, get in contact with Dr. Tavackoli. We'll have all of the details to how people can get a hold of you in the description. However, what I don't have it pulled up. What's the office number so people can call your office to schedule an appointment with you?
The office number is 713-465-3535. We are I work with 8 other cardiologists. They're all great, and we're part of a group, a wider group called Memorial Hermann Medical Group, Cardiology. And we have our offices at Memorial City, but we have partners with Memorial Hermann Medical Group at Memorial Southwest, at Woodlands, at Cypress. So I'd be happy to be at your service.
There's absolutely no reason why, in other words, you shouldn't be getting in touch with Dr. Tavackoli to take care of your heart. The guy is amazing. I am living proof of it. Literal living proof of what he does. And again, you are an amazing blessing to me and my family. So with that, for everyone at Work Your Career Wednesday and everyone at White Husky Films and Jane's Physical Therapy and all of our other sponsors. Hey, sponsors, we should talk about that, Dr. T. Let me tell you this, that I love you and God bless you. And let his face shine upon you and give you great, great peace. Be excellent to yourself and each other, but be excellent to your heart. Till next time, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
And we're out.
I think we did good.
I think we did fantastic. I think that's going to be a great show. That is going to be a great show. And thanks so much thanks so much. I think we covered some good stuff. We covered some stuff I didn't expect to cover, which thank you for that. And yeah, no, it really does. This is what's going on in medicine. Don't be a part of the problem. Be a solution.
Yeah, be a solution.
Yeah. I love you, Dr.
Brett.
T.
Thank you, sir. Love is mutual. Have a great day.
You too, sir.
Bye. Thank you. Take care.
Hey, everybody. Wanted to come on and tell you a story. It's a little personal. I've been in a couple accidents that were pretty severe. Rear-ended. At one, I was on the freeway, did a 360. It injured me pretty badly in 3 parts of my back, my hips, and my left leg. On those accidents, on the first one, I didn't get any physical therapy. On the second one, I did. But there's injuries still there. And then when I was a traveling working musician, my shows were pretty lively, and I would re-injure myself, so I would lay on ice when, after a show before I could meet anybody. That said, the physical therapy really helped me. It helped me get back to performing. It helped me walk again. In late 2020, I injured my back again and could hardly walk. Getting from my house to the car was a problem. I can't imagine what it would be like if I was homebound, okay? Like, let's say I had a surgery and I couldn't get to the physical therapist. It would be a severe problem. Let me tell you something. Jane's Physical Therapy is almost enough for me to move to New Orleans, okay? They are specialists in in-home healthcare, covering New Orleans, North Shore, and they're amazing. Casey James, the managing director of Jane's Physical Therapy, he's incredible. Second to none. We've gotten a chance to meet him and to really talk with him, fellowship with him. He is awesome, and his physical therapists are specialists. They are awesome, incredibly amazing. Look, there's a process on how you would work with him, but I'm telling you, go onto LinkedIn. Okay, here's the deal. They're looking for two more physical therapists in the New Orleans area. Go onto LinkedIn. Okay, connect with him there. You can even go to his LinkedIn page on LinkedIn. Casey James, CASEYJAYNES. Connect with him there. Send him your resume. The website will be up soon, so you'll be able to send resumes there. Or you can even send them to me. Go onto my LinkedIn page and shoot me a message. And we'll even set up a conversation. But I'm telling you, it's an amazing opportunity. The money's great. And working with Casey is really incredible. Okay, he's got a really great network and a wonderful staff of physical therapists that contract really all over. But for these positions, we're looking in New Orleans and in the North Shore area. I'm still familiarizing myself with Louisiana, but I tell you, you want to go to Jane's Physical Therapy, JAYNES. As soon as the website's up, we'll let you know. Go onto LinkedIn. In the search tab, type in JAYNES Physical Therapy and connect with him. Follow his page. You will be so glad you did. All right. So I hope it's not too long, but let's get on with the show.
White Husky Films. Dream, create, record. We create ads and promos for your business. We can promote your video on television, Facebook, YouTube, Hulu, and more. We do a full Google SEO analysis for you with any plan. Call us today at 305-744-1444 or visit our website at whitehuskyfilms.com. White Husky Films. You'll be glad you did.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Hey, if you like Work Your Career Wednesday and want to be notified every single time we have a new episode, like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Smash it. Get a hammer and get it. And
Yeah, that's fine.
Too much?
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love it. People want.
Do you hear Steven in the background? I was just making sure I'm going to be okay. But get that notification going. And hey, we will be letting you know, or I guess YouTube will be letting you know, when the next Work Your Career Wednesday is on. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Man, ding it, ring it, sling it, and bing it. All right? And we will see you soon. Work Your Career Wednesday. Oh, great. I'm glad you stopped by. Be sure to get that subscription bell, and I'll see you there.